I confronted my girlfriend about my doubts, then she confessed they kissed. My heart sank as I realized our bond might shatter. Where should I even start? I have been in a relationship with this girl, female, 23 years old, for 6 years. For the last 2.5 years, we have been living in separate countries because we both opted to pursue our studies in different areas of Europe. When she departed to study abroad, we made a commitment to each other that regardless of the challenges we might face, we would attempt to resolve any problems rather than simply giving up. Fast forward to the beginning of this year, I had a very demanding examination period coming up, which lasted approximately 3 weeks. I do not cope with exam stress very effectively. It consistently makes me feel anxious and panicked. During those 3 weeks, I limited most communication with my girlfriend because, as a student who also works, I already have little time during the day to study. I work all day, then commute home for over an hour, which leaves me with very little time in the evening to focus on studying. By the time I complete my studies, I am typically completely drained and just want to sleep. Therefore, to be honest, I did not communicate with my partner very frequently during that time. Now, moving ahead to the end of January 2025, I had nearly completed my exams, but I felt an unsettling suspicion about my girlfriend's loyalty. I kept dreaming about her being unfaithful, breaking my trust, and causing me emotional pain. This increased my stress on top of my final examinations. Eventually, I confronted her regarding my concerns, which, looking back, were entirely baseless. I acknowledge it was foolish to accuse her in that manner. I confronted her about my feelings after having largely ignored her for the preceding 3 weeks. She was undoubtedly very hurt by what I expressed over the phone, and later informed me that she believed I had ended our relationship and wanted nothing to do with her. After my exams concluded, I suggested, "Hey, let's meet to discuss how poorly I managed my emotions and how I mishandled this situation." She agreed, and we met last Friday, just one day after our 6-year anniversary. We discussed what had gone awry, the reasons for my distance, and I genuinely apologized for doubting her. Once I had expressed everything I needed to say, she revealed that she had a confession to make. She admitted that she had been studying with a male colleague from university. At the beginning of our long-distance relationship, we had both agreed not to spend time alone with members of the opposite gender to prevent misunderstandings or temptations. She disclosed that there was a spark between her and this individual. She reassured me that she did not have genuine feelings for him, but acknowledged that their friendship felt special in some way. Hearing this caused my heart to sink, but we talked about it that same evening. I inquired whether anything else had occurred apart from them acknowledging they felt something for each other. Although I was hurt, we worked through it. Since it was getting late, we chose to continue the conversation the following day and watched a movie together. As the movie began, she turned to me and said she had more to share, something that would likely upset me even more. I asked her to elaborate, and she did. She confessed that they had kissed one evening while studying together. At that moment, my heart shattered, and I was left speechless. I stood up and told her to collect her belongings and leave. We were finished. As I gathered her things, she begged me to listen to her, but I was so overwhelmed with emotions that I couldn't think clearly. I remember telling her, "Now that you are single, you can be with that guy." I was furious at both her and him, even though I don't even know the individual. After she departed, I completely fell apart. 2 days later, on Sunday, we spoke on the phone and agreed to meet up again to sort things out. She picked me up, and we drove somewhere to discuss the situation. I asked her, "Why did you do this to us?" She insisted that she hadn't done anything wrong, that the guy kissed her, and that she did not respond. She claimed he kissed her while hugging her goodbye. I questioned her again if anything else had taken place, and she firmly stated that nothing else had occurred, though that was the same response she had given me before finally acknowledging the kiss. I expressed my desire to talk to the guy to hear his perspective, but she told me it was unwise and that I should not involve a bystander in something that had nothing to do with him. This felt entirely unjust to me, since he was the reason I reacted the way I did the previous Friday. She then admitted that there were additional aspects in our relationship that she had been unhappy about. She mentioned that she felt she always had to adjust to my preferences, even though I had never required that from her. I hold some religious beliefs and consider God to be an integral part of my life. In the past, I had asked her once or twice about her views on faith and why she didn't incorporate God into her life more, but that was the extent of it. She also expressed that I often did not show much interest in the subjects she was passionate about and that she felt uncertain about our future together. She sensed that she had been following my lead because she trusted me, but after recent events, she no longer felt secure in our relationship. She realized she didn't know if she would genuinely be happy moving forward in this manner. We did not reach a conclusion that day, and that was the last time we saw each other in person. That was last Sunday, the day she left for the country where she is currently studying. After a few days, I began to reflect. I have always been protective of her regarding other males because I am aware of what many of them seek. She is a very attractive woman, and previously, she has informed me that men often approach her asking for her social media or phone number. We've had serious discussions about this in the past. However, despite everything, I realized something significant in the days following her departure. I was still willing to mend our relationship. I was not just ready to address what occurred on her end, but I was also prepared to confront my own shortcomings. This was not the first time I had distanced myself during a stressful exam period. At the very start of our long-distance relationship, something similar occurred. I remember her expressing back then that if it happened again, she would not be sure if she could remain with me. I cannot claim whether her emotions are entirely justified because we all have our perspectives, but I agree that ignoring her like that was unfair and hurtful. So, on Monday or Tuesday, I informed her that I was willing to work on our relationship, that I wanted to become a better person, and that I was committed to fighting for us just as we had promised each other many years ago. I recognized how happy we are together, and I didn't want to throw everything away. I still love her dearly, which is why I found the resolve to strive for resolution instead of ending our relationship so easily. However, what she told me in response devastated me. She texted me that she was no longer certain about us, that she lacked a vision for our future, and that she no longer had the desire to fight for our relationship. She stated that she still loves me and wants me to be well, but she requires time to process everything. She also mentioned that what I am currently doing to resolve things is not what she is accustomed to, so she wants to reflect on our relationship as a whole before making any decisions. I respected her request for space, although I faltered a couple of times and called or texted her in the early days. Since Thursday, I have managed to give her the space she desired. However, now she consistently messages me at least once a day, despite initially wanting space. She expresses her love for me and has started to warm up to me again at the beginning of the week. She was very distant. Now she tells me she still needs time but cannot guarantee anything. I am uncertain about what steps to take. I love this woman wholeheartedly and am even willing to forgive her and become a better person because I desire a future with her. I'm not fearful of solitude, I just do not want to relinquish the love we have nurtured over the years. Additionally, I spoke with my boss about this, and he expressed sympathy for my situation. He even permitted me to relocate to her city while maintaining my job. I am doing everything I can to preserve what we have built. I would sincerely appreciate any guidance on how to salvage this relationship. Story 2. I discovered my ex was in a relationship while I was still in his apartment, and he blocked me when I confronted him. It has been 1 year since March 7, and I can still recall everything, including the trauma, betrayal, and disrespect. I have been in a long-term relationship. We met in 2019. He is a Nigerian residing in Pangasinan. At that time, I was employed in Tagwig, and after a year together, we decided to live together. I abandoned my job and started working from home just to be with him. Everything was fine until the 3rd year when he encountered several financial issues. He needed to extend his visa, take the NCLEX, and required money for all these expenses. Consequently, I looked for additional freelancing work while he would handle other tasks. I managed to secure 4 jobs through Upwork and referrals from friends, so I handed him 2 of those. Everything was fine until he began preparing for the NCLEX, which required his full focus, leaving me to do most of the work. I was working nearly 12 to 15 hours a day and also needed to take my son to school at 7 a.m. after finishing my work, yet he did not offer to help unless I asked him to. He claimed I made him feel responsible, even though my child is mine. He said he would never offer assistance. Yes, I am a single mother, and I appreciate that he agreed to let my child stay with us, but he knew that I was getting very little sleep. I would cook after finally resting, while he merely focused on his studies. During payday, he would remind me that he never charged me rent or utilities, even though I was responsible for groceries and meals, while I worked and he collected his salary. I felt extremely exhausted and stressed, yet I continued to be understanding because that is how I love and care for him. When he took the NCLEX for the first time and failed, he did not give up and searched for another date to take it again. The fees for the NCLEX were incredibly high, approximately 15,000 pesos, and he needed to extend his visa as it was about to expire. He claimed he had exhausted his funds and needed to borrow from me, promising to repay me soon. Where would he get it from? I was the one working. Out of love, I agreed to lend him 50,000 pesos. Once that was settled, he came across a business opportunity in car rentals. He believed it was a good idea since a friend of his was doing well in that field. I was initially opposed, but after he gaslighted me by saying I should support him like his friend's girlfriend does, I reluctantly agreed. He started the business without any capital. I secured all the necessary requirements and lent him another 100,000 pesos for the down payment. He was thrilled, as was I, thinking he could finally earn money. I even opened a business page and managed his social media accounts without any charge. The bookings were good, and we had many customers, but despite my efforts, he could never reciprocate. Whenever I needed him to complete tasks, it felt like I had to plead for it. He then accused me of being self-righteous just because he borrowed money from me. No, I just wanted his time and attention to feel special too. Over time, he started spending more time with his Nigerian friend, stating he needed to hustle as a man. He rarely came home anymore and spent most of his time with his friend. One particularly serious fight occurred when he went to pick up a girl from the airport, insisting she was a friend's sister. I was furious because he could go out of his way for anyone else, but required constant begging to receive the same from me. On January 1, 2024, we did not celebrate the new year together for the first time after a long period, and we had an argument. I won't go into the details, but he also physically assaulted me. I knew I should remain silent as I would respond, yet I felt so emotional and isolated while taking medication, and he, being a nurse, didn't recognize my struggle. I told him to pay back everything he owed so my son, and I could leave since his care for me was non-existent, and I was utterly drained. I saw him with other women, which compounded my stress, and he seemed completely unconcerned. In my anger, I said many things I now regret. Eventually, I think he grew tired of our confrontation and called a friend for support. I found myself shouting out of sheer frustration. His friend offered to pay off his debt to me in full, and my mother got involved, which led to us needing legal assistance, resulting in my relinquishing any claim to the car while receiving my down payment back. After that long argument, I was ready to leave. I booked a transport service and gathered all my belongings. However, I returned, realizing I could not envision life without him, which remains the greatest mistake I have made. We attempted to reconcile, but he quickly stopped staying at the apartment. Fast forward to March 7, I was scrolling through Instagram and remembered it had been a while since I checked my ex's account, so I did and noticed a girl who liked all his posts. The feeling was mutual. He had liked her pictures too. My instincts told me something wasn't right, so I messaged the girl. To my shock, they were already in a relationship. My ex and I were no longer on good terms, but we fought often, which is why he was staying at his friend's house, claiming he needed space. Little did I know that space was for him to pursue other women. I was furious and shaking, feeling utterly devastated. I attempted to call my ex, but he didn't answer and eventually blocked me. The girl informed me that my ex explained to her that we were no longer together. How was that possible? I was still living in his apartment, and he had told me he needed space. That very day, he texted me requesting that I prepare a meal for him since he would be returning home. The girl knew I was still involved but seemingly did not care. On the same day I discovered he was unfaithful, I packed all my belongings and left. He didn't even check on me or try to explain as he would have previously. Instead, he went to visit that girl to show her he loved her more than he loved me. How could he have transitioned to that so quickly? The girl remarked that I could not be the girlfriend while they were in constant contact day and night. I was with him for 4 years, supporting him even during tough times. I remained loyal even when he suggested I didn't deserve flowers. I sacrificed my 20s for him, and now I am left with nothing but trauma. I have turned to ashwagandha and counseling due to my depression, which has led me to question if I became toxic or if it was all my fault. I posted their pictures on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. The girl blocked me everywhere, yet she remained with my ex. There is even more to the story, as he also filed a police report against me.